Wiglett is the latest Pokemon to be revealed for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but it's the first entry of a new subcategory of Pokemon. Hey everyone, it's Dusty Go-Go. Welcome back to my headcanon. Wiglett is a water type, but it looks like Diglett, but it's not Diglett. Generation 7, we were first introduced with regional forms. This was such a revolutionary idea for the franchise, and thankfully Game Freak continued to pump out regional forms for the next several games. But I would argue that these regional forms started to get a little bit stale. Generation 8 spiced it up a little bit. We started getting regional evolutions, and the crux of all this is how the Pokemon adapts to a new habitat. The external factors around the Pokemon directly influences how it evolves. So what is Wiglett? This thing is very clearly a convergent evolution. It's not a Diglett, right? It's not a Diglett regional form. We already have that. We saw that in Alola, but it looks like Diglett. Its body resembles Diglett in a lot of ways. Fans have dubbed this new type of Pokemon classification as a regional fake, so I'll be calling it that going forward. The way I understand these Pokemon is, rather than the Pokemon adapting to the environment is producing other Pokemon to converge, to narrowly adopt specific characteristics. So in this sense, Wiglett was a completely different Pokemon, which I want to see what that looks like originally, right? Like, is the regional form of Wiglett in another region, right? Like, is I don't even know, like in Gen 10, is there like a regional Wiglett that looks like what this thing would look like if it didn't live in Paldea? I don't know. But whatever this Pokemon was, let's say it's a Caterpie, I have no idea. It evolved the same way under the same stresses that Diglett had, and now they look identical. Anyways, if you've been keeping up with the leaks, you also know that there's another new type of subcategory of Pokemon that will be called Paradox Pokemon. These are Pokemon completely different from regional forms and these regional fakes. These Paradox Pokemon that exist in the Scarlet and Violet timeline, but are from another timeline completely. These Pokemon are versions of existing Pokemon, let's say Jigglypuff. We will be seeing like a legendary status Jigglypuff that can only exist in another timeline, but somehow was brought to ours. And this Jigglypuff is not a Jigglypuff. It'll have a completely different name, index entry, moveset, stats, and typing. From what we've seen so far, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is really bending the definition of a Pokemon. I believe we understand why the Pokemon exist in the Pokemon universe, but that doesn't really explain why Game Freak wanted to introduce these new subcategories to begin with. I think we can go deeper. Here's a conversation I had with Ruffled Rowlet and Soul Silver Art.
I'd rather have brand new Pokemon than just like nonstop regurgitating the same Pokemon over and over again, because the glory of like a new Pokemon game and the fun of it is the brand new Pokemon as well. Like, I'm sorry, but I've used Pikachu, Charmander for a long enough time that I'm willing to try something new. Like Fuecoco, that's why I kind of started to fall in love with Fuecoco's design, because I realized it's like 100% unique. It's unique. And that's the thing, it's like I don't want to just have my games filled with forms. I want to see what regional fakes are like.
What they did though, they played a trick on us. It's not a form anymore. It's a brand new Pokemon. So like it's not like a random form.
It's basically their excuse to basically reuse designs because they're probably running out of IDs. Yes. But dude, it makes me worried and angry. What you're saying though is that they will basically just reuse. So what, like Tentacool? What are they gonna do? Just make it look like slightly like a mushroom recolor? That's it?
Yep.
Like when I think about that and then this is a new Pokemon.
I think that's more interesting though, because if it's actually, because a regional form, if we got a regional form of a Tentacruel, it would be literally it'd be a ghost jellyfish or something.
That's my point. So
but like if they're on land, they really are kind of a new thing.
That's my point exactly. So when you look at like what happened with Ku, okay, he thought when he saw these Pokemon in the decks, he thought they were regional forms. That's what he thought. So they're like weak sauce regional forms, like Paldea and Wooper.
How is that weak sauce though? I think that's
because
it's a bigger jump.
Well, so he thought. Let me finish the thought and then I'll answer that.
All right.
He thought that they were regional forms, right? And it turns out that they're not. But the reason that they're like more weaker is because they, from what I'm understanding, because I haven't seen this stuff either. Let's take Diglett for an example. The thing is a Diglett. It's an eel though, and it has Diglett's face. That's it.
So
like it's
cool.
just a longer Diglett. It is cool. Like the concept is spicy. So like if you wanted to make Paldea and Wooper a regional fake, let's say, like make Wooper a fake, it would be like a fish. So like if you could make like a fish Wooper with Wooper's face and those things sticking out of its head.
You make it Mudkip.
Kind of, yeah. That's kind of the idea. It's just a different animal with the same face.
But the
Why?
thing with Wooper,
But why the same face? Why the same face though?
I imagine it like how you have like, so bats and birds have both evolved to fly with wings. That's how I imagine it. And it's
But
like they
then
share
at the end of the
something
day, a
there.
bat and a bird don't share the same face though.
No,
So
no,
it's-
not the same face, but a better way to
But, like-
show that similarity.
Here's
is
the
like
thing, though.
a face, which doesn't make sense in our
Okay, I
world.
got you.
Here's
But
the thing.
that's how
They
I see
don't.
it.
They don't have to connect at all. Like there doesn't need to be a
No.
connection. Like it could
It's a
not even be an
reference.
animal. Like it could be
It's like a Pikachu. It's like a Pikachu clone where they all have the cheeks.
kind of.
Oh, okay. So that I would be more cool with because
I'm imagining a Rayquaza with like a Pikachu face, but it's not gonna be that. It's not gonna be that.
I
No,
see.
no, but-
That's the potential of them, though. That's the potential of them because, like, one day. No, I'm not saying these four because these four
Gen 11, yeah.
are what they are. But one day in the future, the potential of them is great. They could branch out and make them more interesting and more different because it could be like a Pikachu that's like a snake. That'd be so cool. But right now, they're just doing like an animal that looks like another.
It's like they're testing
thing.
the waters. They're like, this is so
Yeah.
weird. Let's test the waters. I mean, think about it. It was only two
I mean, it could
generations
work.
ago we had an Alolan Dugtrio.
there you can make the argument, oh, but the regional forms don't replace brand new Pokemon. We call them regional fakes, but they're technically, as far as I understand, they're
Yes,
just
yes.
new Pokemon.
You're right.
They're just brand new
Yep.
Pokemon. So then it does take a space away from a potential other Pokemon.
I try to
There's
think about
so
like, how
much,
they
though.
actually roll out these Pokemon, like how they
But
not how they roll them out, but how they like come up with the ideas. And I'm sure there was a
Well-
part of this. There was like a couple of months where they were like, okay, let's think of a brand new concept. What if this doesn't just go to a new part of the ocean? What if this goes on land? That is weird. You wouldn't think of that. What would that look like? Oh, it kind of looks like a mushroom. Like I think that's an interesting concept.
The concept is amazing.
And I feel like
Don't-
that's
don't
why
get me wrong.
it exists.
Yeah,
And I'm
but
pushing
the
back, Rafa,
execution
'cause,
might
like,
not be
I-
as amazing.
Oh no,
Because
no,
I
it's fine.
like regionals.
Oh, dude.
I don't
Listen,
mind.
but there's where you're going wrong. It's not a regional though. See, that's
it's
where you
not.
fall into the
It's
trap.
not.
It's not a
It's not.
regional, and that's where they get you. Because
But I
if it
don't
was
mind
a
the
regional,
rehash.
but listen, if it was a regional, I'd be fine with it. But it's the fact that it's literally a brand new Pokemon. But,
I totally
yeah.
agree. Like that there's cut mons. Like they had a list of Pokemon that they made, like multiple, and probably ones that they had cut in the past, and they
sure.
chose an amount of them for this generation. You know, so like Pokemon got cut.
The first 4 generations, they had no idea what was going on, and they said, "Okay, let's just rehash we'll rehash every generation every year, right? Or every generation." Like that was their game plan. And then what I think started to happen was they kept repeating the same designs, but turned into new Pokemon. So the last 3 generations have been great. Every new design we get have been phenomenal. Or at worst case scenario, they're unique. At worst case scenario, they're like it's a new concept. So I guess I don't mind the regionals. I don't mind redesigns. I don't mind rehashes, regional fakes, paradox. I think all of that is exciting because rather than giving us something that, in an ideal world, they would just give us something new. But I like the idea of don't give us something that's going to be forgettable in the future. Just rehash an old design, but call it the same Pokemon, and then it's like everything is just connected.
I do like them redoing old Pokemon. I can admit to that, for sure. I love regional forms, but they were starting to get. I think what ended up happening is they're starting to get kind of stale. They're starting to just do color swaps, things like
they're
this
stale.
whole Paldean Woofer. At the beginning, some of them were way different, like Alolan Executor. That thing is a lot different than Executor.
Yeah, that's a cool design.
Yeah, so things like that, but I don't know if they plan to make it last forever.
But they're so popular.
Yeah, of course, because they're old Pokemon that people love. That's another thing is I like new Pokemon more than seeing the old ones again. I appreciate them being changed or whatever, but if it's a new generation, I really just want new Pokemon. So the only thing that really is bad about it is that it takes up new Pokemon slots, like Ruffles was saying.
Yeah.
What I was going to say earlier is another reason why they did this is because the forms were getting out of hand and crazy. Game Freak always counts things as designs. That's a brand new design. It's not just a brand new Pokemon
true,
in a
yeah.
deck. It's like that's a whole nother design that we have to model and make.
If you like this style of discussion, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss a single video. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck hunting.